Hello, Miss Day. This is my recorded thing of DJ for I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, because I'm not going to be there tomorrow because I'm taking the physics and the psychology AP exam, which is that's gonna be fun. Alright, let's start with chunk number 2. I chose my diddles. I chose excitement is a drug, and people whose lives are filled with violence are always wondering where the next fix is coming from. This is from the PDF, page 161, and it's a metaphor for people living in a world surrounded by violence become addicted to the violence. Sorry, I just came back from the gym. Level 2. Then her hands were at my neck. "Take it off, sister," she said, her hand on the hem of the dress. And so my question for this was, why was this scene described so intensely? And it was because of her PTSD, because of the rape. So I mean, it shows you how much of an effect the rape was, like, that experience was to Maya, to the point where she doesn't trust her own mama with handling her dress, with handling her. And so she still had trauma from the rapes, and it gave her flashbacks. And so the other thing I found really interesting about it is that her family didn't make a big deal of it, which I don't know if I have on here, but like her Uncle Willie and stuff, they cared for a few weeks, and then they're like, it's time for you to get over it. And this just shows, like, it's a very traumatic experience. You can't just get over it that quickly. So yeah. Level 3. If you ever tell anybody what we did, I'll have to kill Bailey. And so this was a really, like, the level 3 questions I have for these are kind of blunt, because I didn't know how to word it well, because, like, my question for this was basically, why don't rape victims speak up in general? And it's, again, it ties back to the trauma, it ties back to the guilt as well, because, like, I mean, this is an 8-year-old. How do you tell people what happened to you? It's a very complicated feeling, and she was feeling guilt over, oh, what if something happens to him, and she was, like, hinting about, oh, I kind of liked it. And that's, I mean, sometimes the trauma that a person goes through is too much that they feel they'd rather disconnect it from their mind by not talking about it than to speak up and face possible backlash or accusations. So again, that ties back to her guilt, that ties back her to, what if the problem was me? What if, like, the victimizer has so much of an effect on them that the rape victims often don't want to speak up or can't bring themselves to. Jem. I felt at home. From the way he was holding me, I knew he'd never let me go or let anything bad happen to me. This was probably my real father, and we had found each other at last. And this is messing with me, because, like, that's not how one would think you would describe, you know, that scenario. You wouldn't have someone doing that to you and be like, oh, he held me like a father. And again, this ties back to, like, why she didn't really speak up, because she was like, she didn't know what was happening, and she described it as if, like, she was getting physical touch, love from her father, which she didn't have because she didn't have a father. And so this was just, oh, he's hugging me, oh, now what's happening? And so that just makes it more tragic. She's, I mean, I think she was 8 when this happened, and she was like, so what's happening? And again, it feeds to the tragedy of this. I mean, if you saw me reading it during class, I literally had my mouth open. I was like, it's a really interesting way of describing it, and it's really, like, moving as well. I was not expecting for it to be that deep when I saw it, and it's really beautifully written. Part 3. The diddles. All right, so this section, I was in a chapter where they were at a church, so most of this is centered around like religion and stuff. Cause like the reason I chose this book was because it was like I wanted to be uncomfortable. I'm obviously not black, women, rape victim, or religious. So I'm reading this book from an outsider's point of view, having no connection with any of this, and I'm just like seeing it, and I feel like that's the best way to learn. That's the best way to, anyways, become a better person, is to see what they're going through. Anyways, the diddles. Would God the Father allow his only son to mix with a crowd of cotton pickers and maid, waster women, and handymen? And this is I put rhetorical question. I'm not sure if it's really rhetorical or if it's like it's a genuine question, because she really doesn't know, because you have the whole society looking at you, calling, you're cotton pickers, you're maids, you're the bottom of society, and she's just, would God really care about this? And so it's describing her curiosity over God. Would God really care about a black community, the bottom of what she views as her society? And so it questions her, like her religious attachment. My level 2, my race groaned. It was our people falling. It was another lynching, yet another black man hanging on a tree. So one, I connected this to a poem, I think it was, called Blood on the Leaves, where it's just describing like trees hanging on the fruit, except those trees are humans and they're being like executed or hung. Kanye West actually makes a song about it and then completely talks about something else, which my question, why did the community put so much weight on the fight? And this represented their the fighter represented the community. It was a black person who made it, like, quote unquote, out. So they wanted to see him win, and they wanted to see him beat the system. It was like another underdog, and as a community, they wanted to see him beat the system. So yeah, and then I come back to this in chunk 3, so I'm not gonna talk more about it. Level 3. No one would have admitted that the Christian and charitable people were happy to think of their oppressors turning forever in the devil's spit over flames. But that was what the Bible said, and it didn't make mistakes. And as a non-religious person, I'm looking at this, and it's like a kind of synchronization. They're making the Bible look good for white people, and then they're also turning it to look good to black people. And it's is it morally right to want your oppressors to be punished? And yes, there's a sense of hypocrisy and more ambiguity over it, but their feelings, it's not just like shallow. It's like it reflects I put slave versus master feelings. I don't know if I'm gonna get canceled, but it's like people getting what they deserve, and it really paralleled like the experiences that what they went through, the trauma that the black community went through. And so this is just another part of the book where it's like, look at how much they've done. Now it's time for, them to get their punishment. Again, I'm not a part of that community. I don't know how accurate this is. This is my interpretation. Even if they were society's pariahs, there were going to be angels in a white marble heaven and sit at the right hand of Jesus, the Son of God. This is from Angelou, page 129. I put a gem because of the juxtaposition between pariahs and the fact that they'd be in white marbles. Social pariahs reflect how the black community viewed themselves. It's not just other people pointing at them, but it got to the point where enough people did it that they or at least Angelou thought that they were social pariahs. So that ties back to the diddles with God the Father mixing with the crowd of cotton pickers. And then they see themselves as outcasts of society's sense of sarcasm and cynicism of heaven. Shows that the promise of Christianity, it's kind of desperate, and explains why it's so like believed in. Because like if you see yourselves as the social pariahs, you're gonna be like, oh, this is the way for me to get back at them. This is the way for me to prove that I am God's, follower, God's soldier. Chunk 4. So, Diddles, the special person I was, the intelligent mind that God and I created together, was to depart this life without recognition or contribution. This was after her dad got super drunk at a party, left her. She was like, where's my dad? Capitalization of God again shows her like how high of a regard she puts religion in her life. And then it's hinting about suicide, which we obviously get to later in the book. Not that she commits suicide, but like she seriously considers it in a few chapters, right? Because of the girlfriend. So this is just a little bit of foreshadowing. And yeah. Level I mixed these two up. So level 2 question I put down here. I suppose that the thought before I was not only ugly, but old too. I suppose he thought before that I was not only ugly, but old too, and how and how the knowledge that I was probably unused attracted him. And again, another blunt question: why are people attracted to rape people? I put condemnatory tone, the ugly and old, right? Like, not only does it affect, like, does it show how she views herself, which we see over and over again in the book, between how she compares herself to Bailey, right? To Bailey, her brother, and she's like, he's this angel, and I'm just not. And so, but it also shows that people think they have power over a woman just because they're quote unquote ugly or old, or yeah, so that's why. And then the thought of being unused is attractive, which I don't get. But my bad. And so that's why I don't know why, because I'm not. But yeah. Level 3 question. It seems hard to believe that here was a lonely person under women's slats in which work the loathing job to his personal niche. Oh, the loathing job titles for his personal niche. And so even if you have access to everything. Oh, okay. So this was about I think I'm forgetting because it's kind of busy because I was studying for psychology before this. This is, I'm pretty sure she's describing someone who's super rich, and my question was, even if you have access to everything, can you still be lonely? Can you still want more? And my answer was, yeah, loneliness is not defined by how much you have around you. It's about the quality of your company. And he was having all these women around him, but like he was still alone. So that's kind of sad. Gem, the need of a society to determine its ethics. And in the Black community, in the Black American ghettos, the hero is the man that is offered only the crumbs from his country's tables, but by ingenuity and courage is able to take for himself a Luciferian feast. And so this parallels Angelou's journey, and it parallels what I was talking about over here with the boxer, I think, who's like, he's on the outskirts of the community. He makes the metaphor of making a meal out of crumbs. mirrors how the Black community rose against discrimination to be successful. So that's my 4. That's my 3 sections talked about. Thank you for giving me that book to read. It was really good.